All right, so we just talked about with narrative writing that narratives are stories about something that you have done or something that has happened to you. And we talked about how these things that have happened to you don't have to be super special. They don't have to be where you like won the winning championship soccer game. Although if you have a story like that, totally write about it. But maybe you don't have any big stories like that or you can't remember any. Spend some time thinking about those kinds of things, and if you can't come up with anything like that, that's okay. Think about things that you do remember very well, because when we go into making our story map, we're going to need to remember a lot of details. So, narrative writing map. A map is a text feature in a nonfiction book that tells us where different things are at or where we should find them. And so I'm going to use a map to help me plan my narrative writing. Narratives are stories. You are telling a story. So every story needs a beginning. Every story needs a middle, and every story needs an end. So, in the beginning of our story, some important things to include that'll help you generate more sentences. I like to use I think it's 4 or 5 W's. Who, where, so I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 W's, right? Who, where, when, why, and what. A cool way to sing it from Spy Kids that I learned was who, what, when, where, and why. So I wrote that kind of backwards. But who, what, when, where, why. Who was there in your story? If you can't remember who was there, probably not a good story to write about. Where was it? Where were you when this story happens? Like, if I was to write about my 8th birthday party, for example, I know that I could list everyone who was at my party, my grandma, grandpa, Aunt Wendy, Uncle Denny, my cousin Leslie, my cousin Natalie. Like, I could list everyone who was there. We were at my Aunt Wendy's house. It was August 30th on my birthday for my 8th birthday. And if I did enough time traveling, I could probably figure out the date that happened. Why were we all there? It was for my 8th birthday party. And what were we doing? We were opening presents and eating cake. And I was doing like a fashion show to model what I was wearing. So these are great questions to ask yourself when you are generating the beginning of your story. The middle of your story is really what like the main reason why you're telling the story. What was special about this? So what was why this story? Now, when you're writing the middle, you're not going to go into the middle and say, this story is special because da 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 da. No, you're going to tell us your story, and hopefully through the details that you add in the middle, you're going to tell your reader without straight up writing those words why we're reading about this story. So maybe, I've answered all these questions at the beginning of my narrative. Once I get to the middle, I'm really going to focus on the fashion show part of my story, because I just felt so special that day, and my aunt had got me these really cool new denim skirts, and when I wore them, everyone was complimenting me and saying, I hope you enjoy those, and that's what makes this story special, is just because I remember that part so well. And so in the middle, I would really focus on that part that makes that memory pop out to me. What about that memory was special? And the end of my story is going to be, you can end your story in lots of different ways. I like to end my story with maybe something I learned, maybe how I felt at the end. You know, just a way to give your reader closure with your story. So maybe at the end I might say, my 8th birthday was such a great day. I remember it because it made me feel special and it made me feel important. And it made me feel pretty because I had all these really cool clothes to take home and try on for everyone. So this is what your story map should look like. And I would like to go back to the middle here. What really your middle is about, you know, what was special, what stood out to you about that memory, and then why you want to make your readers understand why you're telling this story as opposed to any of the others. But something that you should do that is important when you're doing the middle part, you need to use your time words or your transition words, right? So first, next, last. Maybe you're going to do after that. Maybe you'll use also. Maybe you'll use then. You remember our transition words, so make sure that you're using your time words so that your audience, the people who are reading your story, understand what happened first. They understand the sequence of the story, what happened next, what happened after that, what happened then, what happened last. Oh, and also, so these are an important part of your middle. So when you are writing your narratives, be sure that you're using this map because that's going to help your readers understand what you're trying to say and help them picture what it is that you're trying to tell them.